Kia ora. Well, some wet weather still with us across those northern parts of the country as we head through the rest of Sunday and even in towards the first part of Monday morning. Up here across the likes of Northland and Auckland, some heavy rain watches in place as we head through the rest of today, Sunday, and even in towards the early hours of Monday morning for places like Auckland. In amongst that rain, some thunderstorms and some intense bursts of rainfall. Well worth keeping up to date with the forecast and the radar charts. Elsewhere, you can see some clearer skies. This next front down towards the south, starting to introduce some cooler air in towards the far southern parts. But you can see that wet weather across the North Island does break up somewhat through Monday. However, you can see not far away over the Tasman Sea, another area of low pressure brings wet weather back towards those far northern parts as we head in towards Tuesday. So another burst of heavy rainfall pushing across those northern parts of the country as we head through towards Tuesday this week. Some wet weather back in towards Northland, Auckland, perhaps the Coromandel as we head in towards the end of the day. And some of those southerly winds pushing back up the South Island. By the middle part of the week, the low pressure moves that wet weather across the top of the South Island. The combination of cold air and wet weather could mean some snowfall back with us across the higher parts of the Southern Alps, up there across the likes of the ski fields through there, but also wet weather feeding back in towards parts of Canterbury, and generally a fairly unsettled looking Wednesday across many parts of the country, particularly around those central areas. Cold air starting to push back up across the south, a real different story to the warm air we've got moving in from the north. Heading through towards the end of the week, you can see this low pressure system brings some stronger winds up that eastern coast of the country, a rather blustery story through Banks Peninsula up in towards Wellington and around the likes of the Wairarapa coast, and a pretty windy story out towards the Chatham Islands as well. But generally it's that cold southerly most of us will notice. If we look at the rainfall accumulation this week, well, through to about Thursday night time, you can see we've got some of those heavier falls up across the north, down towards Auckland and even in towards the Coromandel. Now that's no surprise when you look at how much rain we've seen in places like Kerikeri in the last 24 hours, about 100 odd millimetres of rain and not out of the question through there. And we'll find still some rumbles of thunder back in towards places like Auckland, the Coromandel, even as we head in towards Tuesday. But generally, a fairly wet looking story. Most of the activity coming in from the west, so a little bit of sheltering for places like Hawke's Bay. Down on the South Island, well, for those areas, a lot of the wet weather arrives on Wednesday with that low pressure pushing the rain back in on the eastern side. So places like Banks Peninsula catching a fair amount of rain as we head in towards the middle part of the week. And with that rain being forced in through here and that cold air undercutting it, like I say, places about the tops of the Southern Alps may well find some snowfall for those middle parts of the week as well. But I think we are going to find dry weather back down towards Southland and Otago. Might find some patchy rain, but the wetter weather further north. In terms of our temperatures, they're up and down. We had those really cold mornings through Anzac Day. We've had the northerly winds bring some warmer air back with us, so very mild, very muggy back across those northern parts of the country through the first part of this week. But as we head in towards Tuesday, our winds start to turn more southerly. That cold air creeping up the South Island, and we start to see the back of this warmer air across the North Island as well. It takes its time, but I think generally a colder end to the week as we head in towards Thursday and Friday. So well worth keeping an eye on those temperatures. Places like, well, central Otago finding our temperatures back down to around about 9s and 10s for some of those daytime highs. So it could be a pretty chilly story through there. But I think we are going to find generally a wet story around those middle parts of the week. Places like New Plymouth seeing that rainfall arriving on a Wednesday and still sticking with us on Thursday, and down on the South Island as well, particularly for those northern parts. Places like Marlborough, Canterbury, particularly North Canterbury and up in towards Christchurch and Banks Peninsula, catching some of that wet weather through the daytime there on Wednesday and Thursday. Drier, brighter weather down south, but look at these daytime highs for places like Alexandra. 12 degrees Celsius, very different from what we've been used to. In fact, we've had night times not much colder than that. As we go through next week, we'll start to find high pressure builds back with us. Those orange colours showing things a little bit more settled as we head towards the second half of next week and in towards that first week of May properly. But I think we have got a lot of wet weather, a bit of an unsettled week ahead of us with some perhaps some cooler temperatures back with us as well for the end of the week too. As always, you can find the full forecast and updates over at MetService.com.